Hello, 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 good people. I believe we are live. Just to make sure you guys can hear me, just give me a virtual thumbs up in the chat, as well as let me know if the music is too loud, too low, or what have you. It's a little different when me and Kenyon both are on. What I forgot to do, which I don't think it matters, but I forgot to actually do the stream through this other software where Kenyon can see the comments. So unfortunately now Kenya will have to actually look at the stream on the phone or something like that. But anyway, guys, what's happening? Somebody says can't wait to see. Oh, okay. I thought he was saying he was talking about us. But y'all can hear us, I assume. Still waiting for the virtual thumbs up. But in the meantime, I'm going to go in and I'm going to say what's up to everybody, the early commenters. So give me a second. Let me pull up the list. What's happening to Build This Life, Devil, Donovan Hubbard, Mr. Winningham, what's going on, sir? Miss Lanisha, how you doing tonight, Lanisha? Always good to see our ladies in the chat. Charlie Brown, Jersey Boy, Darren Covington, Brian Williams, Brent Fox. Who else we got in here? The Art Steeler 937, Maurice Ware. And Eric McDuffie gave us the thumbs up. Cool. Still a freak. Ollie Howard and Joshua Shields and Buddha Blaze. Okay. I see what time it is with Buddha Blaze. But what's happening, everybody? Sorry for not having a show last week, man. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was just telling Kenya, I've been on the run for the last 2 weeks, like literally. Wedding 1 week. Then my niece's baby shower last week, and some of you are saying, well, how did that affect you? Well, my wife was involved with a lot of the planning for both of those, though. So when she's doing something, I'm doing something. So, sorry about last week, and I'm going to be honest with y'all once again. I have not watched every single draft pick. I thought I was going to be able to do it. I lied to myself thinking I was going to be able to do it. I hit Kenyon up last Tuesday saying, man, I ain't been able to watch none of these guys all the way yet, and I still haven't finished. What I have done is I have watched 8 full games of Kenny Pickett. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Kenny Pickett and why I really do think the Steelers actually drafted him. I had an independent video. I was using clips, and of course, it got flagged, so I didn't release it. So I'll just give it to you guys verbally tonight. And basically, man, me and Kenyon, we're just gonna go off the cuff, man. We'll be here about an hour or so. We're just gonna talk about how we feel as a total right now with the total draft picks, UDFAs, rookie minicamp, anything like that. We'll just, again, like I said, no structure. We just gonna go off the cuff and whatever you guys have in the chat, and that'll be the show. So outside of that, man, Kenyon, anything? Or is there a place where you want to start in terms of tonight's show?
I guess we could start with reflect on just the draft, since we didn't really have a wrap up, so we can just reflect on our picks and how you feel about them, or how we feel about them personally, each pick, I guess. And we both watched most of the players, and we can just go from there. And from there, we can just roll.
That's what we will do, good people. So we are actually going to go in reverse. We'll do the last draft pick first, and then we'll move up to Kenny Pickett. One thing, though, I did want to throw at you. I knew it was something else I wanted to talk about that we haven't talked about collectively. The Steelers, since we all have talked, guys, the Steelers did sign Demontae Kazee to a 1-year contract. For you guys that don't know who that is, he plays safety. I know I'm more familiar with him from Atlanta. I know he was playing with the Cowboys last year, but I didn't really, I didn't watch Cowboys all the time to really, I don't watch these guys week in and week out, not each team, to know what their stats were and things like that. I did hear that he had some interceptions last year. From what I was hearing is he was one of the tops in the league. So that's interesting given the fact that his teammate probably led the league in Diggs. But anyway, my question is to Kenyon and to the chat. Man, do we have a competition brewing at strong safety? Or could we possibly see a guy like Kazee play in the slot in certain situations? What do you think his role might be with the Steelers? I'm assuming he makes the team.
Me personally, I think he's going to be a slot. But it does, because if you look at his weight, he's maybe 180, 185.
Yeah.
So they'll probably put him in the slot. But I believe the Steelers like to have 3 quote-unquote DB safety types in some of their packages. So it does allow you to have Edmonds, Minka, Kazee on the field at the same time, along with Norwood, who I think will get a little bit more playing time this year. So, yeah, I think you'll see him in a slot. I think he can play in the box, or you can have him, cover a side of the field and kind of put Terrell Edmonds down there, because Terrell Edmonds is good in the box, along with me. They can do that. So I think you'll see him in the slot, a lot. But they like to have a versatile defense, so I would assume he would do that.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm wondering. My gut would tell me is we might see more opportunities with maybe Minka lurking down in the box. However, I do feel like, well, what I was about to say, I was about to contradict my own point. I was going to say the Steelers did that last season because they didn't necessarily have a guy that could play deep, but they did. Trey Norwood kind of took that role when Minka dropped down, and they still kind of had Edmonds on the other side. So you might be right. I'm thinking he's probably going to come in more in, key situations, package situations, maybe. Only reason why I don't think he takes Edmonds' spot is because, Edmonds has been the starter for the last, 3-4 years. I can't remember if Edmonds started his rookie year. I think he did, but I don't remember. No.
I think he came in, I think it was later in the season. He started to start. He didn't start at the beginning of the season. I think that was Sean. Wasn't that still Sean Davis there?
Oh, yeah. Sean Davis and then Morgan Burnett.
So they kind of, right. So they kind of, you saw him get more time as the year went on. Remember, he didn't play a lot, but as the year went on, they started playing.
Yeah. So he's been the starter for at least, 3 seasons, I'm thinking. Something like that. No. What is he going into his 4th season, right? So, we know he's been the guy for 2 seasons. We can say that at least.
He got drafted with Juju?
I think so.
Was he the first round pick and then Juju was the second round pick?
I'm trying to think. Was that the same class? No, because Juju. Nope, I think he was the year after that. Because Juju played last year.
PJ Watt.
Juju played on his 1 year, 5th year last season.
Okay.
And Edmonds is going into his 4th season.
Yeah.
Because they didn't. Oh wait, no, I'm bugging.
No, Edmonds was drafted before Juju.
Edmonds is going into his 5th.
That's his 5th year.
That's correct.
His 5th year. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. See, guys, we don't remember. We remember stuff, but we don't remember everything. But yeah, you're right. So this year would be his 5th season. So yeah, I'm guessing we were right initially. Edmonds has been the starter for a solid 3 seasons.
Right.
So with that being said, he's familiar with the culture. He's familiar with the position. He's familiar with the defense. I think it would have to be pretty bad for him to lose the outright strong safety spot to Kazee. But I'm open for the competition. And listen, man, at the end of the day, whoever they deem to be the best and whatever players in the secondary they feel should be out there the most, let's go with them. Yep. I don't care which combination it is. So there you have it.
Yep.
So that's kind of how we feel about that. As far as the draft picks, man, and what we'll do, guys, we'll skip around a lot. We might as well, before we even get to the draft picks, we can consider the UDFAs, I guess, as an extension of that. So we could talk about a couple of these guys real quick. Full disclosure, I did not watch most of these guys. I watched Mateo Durant.
Right.
I watched Tyree Johnson, as well as, obviously, I watched him as I was watching Liel. And who else did I look at? I looked at a little bit of Bryce Watts. Unfortunately, he got injured. in rookie minicamp, and for him to be injured reserve, waived injured, that's not a good look. I don't know what happened, but that seems like something. It might be a major thing if you get waived, with that designation this early, but we'll see. I did not watch Jaylen Warren. I know some of you guys were telling me about him, and I'm gonna tell you why I didn't watch him is because he's more of a bigger guy. No disrespect to him, but I would prefer to have a guy more like Durant, a fast, quick guy, to be the complement to Najee. I would prefer not to have, Najee is the bell cow. We already know that. So I would rather, if we're gonna do the 1-2 punch or spell him, let's bring a different type of back in there. Kind of what we were hoping to see from McFarland. So that's why I would go with Durant. But any of these guys, Kenyon, you want to talk about? I know you watched Durant as well, and you said he was impressive. So maybe you want to speak on him. Chris Owens didn't impress me at all. I watched the A&M versus Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
That's about all I got as far as UDFAs. Did not watch any of Moultrie yet. I did not watch Donovan Jeter yet.
You didn't have to watch. You didn't have to watch Kid at USC because.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, I guess we can start with those guys. So you want to talk about? Yeah, you can talk about Chris Steele, and we can talk about Mateo Durant. At least I'm familiar with him, and then we can go on to the draft picks after that.
Yeah, I'll just talk about Chris Steele. He was he has the tools to play in the NFL, but he's always been kind of inconsistent. I'm not going to call him overrated. He was a 5-star cornerback in high school. Coincidentally played with DJU, who everybody talks about. He was on that team. He was a 5-star cornerback, great technique in high school, I would say. He kind of looks like a Steeler, talks a lot of stuff on the field, kind of similar like Marcus Peters, talks a lot. Initially signed with Florida, transferred out and came back home, played at USC, and at USC is very inconsistent. I don't want to say there are reasons why he was inconsistent, whether it's coaching, and everybody knows if you know USC, you know their coaching situation, what it was, and it could be coaching or whatever. But as I told Sim, and I will tell you guys, he was very handsy in college. Got a lot of PI penalties. Can get beat a lot because if he doesn't get his hands on you, you know what I mean, you can beat him. Saw that happen to him a lot while at SC. Will come up and make tackles. He's a physical cornerback, but he didn't make a lot of playmaking plays, which that's something I think Tomlin stresses. But maybe Terrell Austin can get something out of him, and that could be a project for him. He's big enough. He's 6'1". He's a legit 6'1". So if they can get him, get his technique down and stop having him be handsy and stuff, then he can be a long shot to either practice squad or even make the team. He has a long shot at it, but I'm not super duper high on him. If you don't hear me talk about certain players from SC, then you kind of know how I feel about them. So, he's not bad. He's just there. I think he came out too early, but I think he came out because he stated when he first got to USC, I'm only going to be here 3 years. So that tells you everything you need to know. When somebody says that, they're trying to go to the league. And so, we'll see. But very inconsistent. Will get a lot of PIs. I mean, there's one game in particular where he got like maybe 3 in a row on the same drive, which is kind of interesting. So,
yikes.
If he can't fix that, he'll have a long day in the NFL because, those guys will eat you up. So that's all I got as far as Chris Steele goes. You guys, I welcome you guys to watch him play. I mean, you can always watch him on film, see how he plays. As far as Mateo goes, I was impressed with Mateo because he's a one-cut runner. Yeah. But the explosiveness is there, and in the offense that Duke ran is similar to what Canada likes to run, that RPO type offense. And I think that, as I told Sim, I think Anthony McFarland's in trouble because I think Mateo can do everything Anthony McFarland can do. He's a little bit taller, and they would spread him out and let him run routes, which to me says everything. That's versatility, and to me, he would be the perfect complement to Najee. And Sim can elaborate more. He saw more film. I saw Mateo. I saw 3 games on him, and I was just impressed with the games. Ironically, the first game I watched was Pitt versus Duke, and they were driving and he fumbled on the first drive, and I made a note of it. But I was like, you can't judge people off the fumble. So, but I like his speed. I like his breakaway speed. I like that, and I think he's he's the opposite of Najee, and I like that. So that's all I got on those 2 guys. Sam, how do you feel about what you saw in Mateo?
Yeah, man. Kenya said most of it is. What I saw really quick was his burst. Like he's one of them dudes. It seems like he gets to his top speed relatively quick. Makes the right decisions for the most part. There's not a lot of wasted. It's funny because a lot of times when you get them shifty, fast dudes, a lot of times there's wasted movements with them or wasted moves, like a whole lot of shake and bake. Kind of like what we have said about Anthony McFarland as a Steeler. When we've seen him in the game, it seems like he's a little jittery, like he's hesitating, and sometimes we've shown the film. I'm like, yo, why didn't he just hit it?
Right.
Mateo has that in college. We'll see if it translates, but I think he does have the opportunity to make the team. Like you said, the biggest thing I noticed too was him being used in the pass game. So not only can you use him to spell Najee, you can pretty much use him also in the pass game the same way we will use Najee. So I like it, man. Just comparing him to the backs that are on the roster right now, like you said, I think McFarland has a problem, a serious problem. And I think, this kid might very well make the team. We'll see. Some people are saying, well, maybe Benny Snell is in trouble. I don't know. You got to remember, Benny Snell was a draft pick, and sometimes the Steelers will hold on to their draft picks, guys that they believe in. Think about a guy like Jalen Samuels.
Right.
They kept him a year later than we thought they would. So don't count Benny Snell out. I saw somebody in the comments say, I think it was, what's up, Y Diggy? I think it was my man Y Diggy said that, he also, Jalen Warren could get an opportunity to be the short yardage back. Over Snell. I just don't see the Steelers brass doing that. So now we're saying that they're going to replace McFarland and Snell with 2 UDFA backs. I don't know if that happens.
One yes, 2 no. And also Snell's a core special team player. He's the gunner.
That is correct.
So his value is a little bit different because he brings more to the table in that sense than Durant and Warren would do. That's what Snell does. So he's a running back also as a core special teamer. You can't forget that special teams is a part of the game. It's important. So you have to. So Snell's value is both. So you have to look at Snell as a complete player, not as just a running back. And that's basically it.
Yeah, see, and with that said, what's key is what Kenyon said about Snell's role as a special teamer. He's not a returner. We be seeing Snell down there making tackles. Is Durant going to be able to do that? Or Warren? And the reason why I say those guys specifically is you would assume, I'm not the coaching staff, but I would assume the kick returner, punt returner is probably already on the roster. It's going to be Austin or the kid we got from New England.
Right.
Gunnar O.
Right. Yeah, Gunnar.
So I wouldn't expect us to say, oh, well, he could be on special teams. Well, he's going to have to be making tackles or being a good blocker, and we know Benny Snell has already solidified that. So that's why I'm saying, the best case scenario for you guys that like both of those dudes, Durant is able to beat out McFarland. He ends up being a third back, and Warren becomes a practice squad guy.
Right.
That's probably the best case scenario. which I would be cool with, because I'm not married, to anybody, and I think the other Edmonds brother is still. I mean, I'm not married to any of them dudes who on the practice squad. Bring in new blood. I'm cool with that. So we shall see.
Yep.
Let me see. Before we get into the draft picks, we might as well knock some of this other stuff out the way. Steelers did sign a couple new guys, man, that were invited to tryouts. Let's go with the wave players first. Man, Rico Bussey gets waived. It's not a good look for him, man. This is what happens to, let's say, 70 to 75% of the players who get drafted or, get signed as a UDFA. It's funny. There's a draft every year for a reason. And Rico Bussey might be one of those guys that this might be it. Only reason I say that is because he wasn't drafted, right? Steelers picked him up as a UDFA. Didn't really get a whole lot of time already. I mean, one season, he's already waived. And these be the guys that sometimes they just don't make it. Or maybe he gets lucky, he lands somewhere else and he plays himself on a practice squad. But it sucks, man, because, he had a relatively decent college career, and it's just too bad. I have a heart sometimes, man, because these guys are kids, and that has been his dream, and it looks like his dream could very well be over. Sucks. Sam Sloman, not surprised there.
Right.
And they also terminated John Simon, which I am not upset with that either. Because
I don't even remember being on the team.
Yeah. So
that's.
Let's see. They did sign another kicker, Nick Skiba, or Scoba, however you say it. I think it's Skiba. They signed the wide receiver Tyler Snead. I think he's from Eastern Carolina. He's one of those little guys. Not to be disrespectful to him, but just kind of seeing what, Steelers Twitter has been saying. People have been campaigning for him. But personally, I would rather go with Austin because Austin just appears to be a better receiver and he has the speed. I think they were saying that Tyler Snead ran like a 4.6. Again, it's not like he's the slowest human in the world, but why would we keep a guy that's kind of built in the mold of Calvin Austin?
Right.
Doesn't make sense. I mean, some reason the Steelers signed him. Maybe he's a practice squad guy, but I'm not going to be one of those people that every time I see highlights and now I'm like, oh, let's keep him. No. If we're going to keep anybody a smaller stature, slot type guy, I want to give Calvin Austin a chance based off of what I've seen. I don't know much about this guy, Carlins Platel, another DB, cornerback from South Carolina. Coincidentally, he ran a 4.6 also, is what they're saying. So they're saying he's built more like a slot. I'm not familiar with him, so I'm really just going off of what others are saying. Now, the one person I am intrigued about, Kenyon, because this is a conversation we definitely got to have really quick. I'm a little intrigued by Trevon Mason, not because I'm familiar with him, but he was signed today, right? The Steelers also signed, where is it? Donovan Jeter, who's another D lineman.
Right.
The Steelers also signed, what's his name? That Moultrie guy, they're saying he is a linebacker, but he can play D-line. Steelers also drafted Liel. So what does all this have in common to me? It sounds like Stephon Tuitt ain't going to be in the mix, bro. The only reason why I say that, folks, I don't know nothing. I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves. Quite a few backup pieces they seem to be interested in across the D-line. And they drafted a D lineman in the 3rd round after drafting a guy in Loudermilk last year. To me, I think the Steelers don't believe that Stephon Tuitt will be playing for them this season. And I think OTAs might give us a peek into that. If he's not there for OTAs, And I know some people are going to say, look, some of this stuff is still not 100% mandatory. But if you've been away from football that long and you're not available for the first organized training activity, I got a hunch that Stephon Tuitt will no longer be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
Do you think they are signing these D linemen so they won't be in the same position as they were last year? Even though I will say last year they did draft D linemen that were the same size as Tuitt, Loudermilk, and they have multiple guys, and maybe they just want multiple guys just to say that if Tuitt comes back, bonus. If not, we're straight. We're prepared. We drafted Leal. We have Loudermilk. They're already deep in that position.
Yeah.
So don't you think it's almost like if you get to it, it's a bonus? Like I guess I'm not looking at it as I'm expecting Tuitt to be. I'm not expecting him to be there, but if he's there, it's a bonus. And as you said, I agree. OTAs will be a telltale. If he's at OTAs, it's interesting discussion.
Yeah, if he's at OTAs, delete this part of the conversation. I mean, my bad. But we don't know. I mean, Tuitt is the unknown. And, I know everything he went through, and I'm kind of with him, and I applaud the Steelers for the way that they've handled the situation, where they've kind of given him his space and let him, deal with his situation, deal with what's happened to him. But I just think that they're just preparing, and I think that's how you have to look at it. Drafting Leal to me was a telltale. Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying? When you draft Loudermilk last year and you draft Leal this year, and you have Wormley, you know what I mean? And you have both Davis brothers. You have to remember who they have on the team. They're the Davis twins. Hey man, look, you can't have enough D linemen, just like you can't have enough linebackers. So I just think they're trying to have that as a position of strength. So, and if you look at it, Leal is undersized, but he could be a steal if he plays. But we'll get to that during when we get to picks, when we get to the draft picks. But yeah, I would just say I'm not looking for it. So that's how I feel about it. They're just preparing.
Definitely hope I'm wrong, man. But Kenyon is right. I mean, ultimately, they could just be doing that. They could just be preparing. Look, in case we don't have him, because I mean, who we kidding? If we're being honest, they're not losing anything if they have to cut a UDFA, or they're not going to cut Leal.
Nope.
Which is going to be interesting. See, what you said too is definitely key. Actually, I'm going to go to this other browser, man. I'm just going to read to you guys the D linemen's. So if you do D tackle, right? You got Montravius Adams. Let's not forget we re-signed him. But that's going to be a Lualu's backup for the most part.
Right.
According to Steelers.com, Davis brothers are still there.
Yep.
Not too worried about them, though. But they're still there. They could be practice squad eligible. Cam Hayward, and now this guy, Trevon Mason. All right? That's just D tackles. Now, if we go look at the ends, let me see. Left end, where are we? Or I don't even think they're going to classify like that. They probably classify DE. Okay. Defensive end. Alualu is listed as a DN. So is DeMarvin Leal, Isaiah Loudermilk, Henry Mondeau,
Yep.
Daniel Archibong, Chris Wormley. So realistically, right? Who makes the roster as far as we usually keep about like 6 or so on the 53.
Right.
You probably would expect, I mean, I say probably, this is laughable, but Cam Hayward, That's number one. Chris Wormley, number two.
Right.
Loudermilk would be number three. I think Montravius Adams could be the
4.
next one. Tyson Alulu. That's 5.
And he's really a nose tackle. I mean, I know you list him as DN, but he's a nose tackle. So
that's 5 guys. So
I got Leal. I personally think Mondo's not gonna make the team.
Exactly. Leal is probably the next one. So here's the question, right? If the Steelers, dang man, see, I told y'all we didn't have no script. I love when we just find others. I love when we just find random topics to like rabbit holes to go down.
Right.
Stephon Tuitt comes back, and the Steelers, let's say they usually only keep 6 D linemen, right? Isn't it usually about 6? So who gets the cut?
You want my pick?
Yep.
Montravius Adams.
That's what I was gonna say. Probably Adams.
Because I think Loudermilk is young enough where they can turn him into, you know what I mean? They can turn him into something. Montravius Adams did a great job, but if Tuitt comes back and he's Tuitt, anywhere close to being Tuitt, you let Adams go. And Leal is talking about playing nose tackle and DN and putting on weight. It's versatility.
Yeah,
I like Montravius Adams, but Leal might be able to do a little bit more. So
a whole bunch of dudes that's gone. And the reason why I said that, because right there, that eliminates Javon Mason, the Davis brothers, Archibong, Mondo. So you could very well be right that maybe they just stacking on guys, but the Leal the drafting of Leal is huge. That's major.
Agree.
That's a major. That's something that we probably really should pay attention to, man. But yeah, that's just my thoughts, guys. I just feel like, man, it's traumatic. I get it. I know what he's gone through, and I just think football might not be important, man. I mean, the thing is, you don't know what was going on prior to his brother's passing. Like maybe he already felt like, man, I'm not spending enough time with family, or you just never know. And I just feel like by now, again, you can't put time on grief because Lord knows I'm still going through it, right?
Yep.
But I feel like by now, if I was going to play football and my heart was into it, I have told the organization I will be back. And for them to continue to say, even as recent as the last time we heard from Tomlin and Colbert, that they don't have an answer. That don't sound good.
Yeah. Especially when you give the indication, that you might come back. So yeah, I would have to agree with that. If you're giving yourself the indication or giving the organization, especially he's been at the facility. So that's another thing. So how are they playing it? You know what I mean? I think he's the unknown. That's the best way you can put it. He's the unknown. And look, I like Stephon Tuitt. I've always said though he's never played a 16-game season. Now we're playing it's a 17-game season now. So, I don't know. I mean, he's a weird player because I don't know what you do with somebody like that. Because the flashes that he's shown has shown that he could be great.
Oh man.
But I don't know. I mean, that's one of those guys that, man, that's gonna be interesting for a new GM. And how do you play that? Whoever they hire as a new GM. So
y'all tough on the players. Who was that? Hello, Melissa. I'm assuming female. Again, it's 2022. I don't want to assume anything. If you are a female, welcome. If you're not, how you doing? And the only reason why I say that is because we treat our female listeners special. But Melissa says Tuitt is a cupcake. Y'all tough on these players, man. Look, it happens. Jason Worlds, anyone?
Yeah.
Sometimes dudes just, they fall out of love with it, man. I mean, it happens. And again, a tragedy like losing your younger brother. I mean, I know that hit him in the heart, man. And again, what if he wasn't all the way in injuries? Okay, Kenya just told you he's never played a full season. And sometimes all it takes is a couple injuries for guys to start being like, man, I don't know if I want to do this no more. I'll give you an even better example. Nowhere near the caliber of player. But look at Duck Hodges. Duck Hodges is a dude that, honestly, if I'm being honest, when you are a backup quarterback, like a third string, you really just, you're making safe, free money.
Yeah.
You're not getting hit in practice. You probably ain't going to have to play. And if you have to play, nobody's going to blame you for the loss. If you win, you get praised. So you only retire when you just feel like, maybe my heart ain't there no more. This dude just retired, and he was in the league a couple years, if that. So it happens. I mean, and what I try to do, guys, is I'm a human first. So I take my Steeler fanism to the side and sometimes be like, man, that's messed up. But all right, I don't know these people personally, man. You know what I mean? Here's a quick side story, only because me and my wife just watched the show about this the other day. It's like the girl, man, that was Miss America that jumped out of the window and killed.
Yeah.
Who would have known? You know what I'm saying? Like every time you saw her, she seemed to be happy, and who would have known that she was fighting that? And I only bring that up because we don't know what these people are going through. We don't. I'm sure there's some people in the NFL that are mentally nuts, or they battling depression, or we don't know. So I'm just not gonna go that far to call them names and stuff. I mean, it could just be funny games, so I don't know how serious you are, but I'm just saying we don't know, man. I would love to have them, but at this point, it is what it is. Is he going to be in football shape, Yeah,
and everybody's brought up different. I think that's another thing that people have to factor in when you talk about players and especially if it's mental, their mental situations, because everybody's brought up different. Depending on how you're raised, some people in certain areas will call you soft. So depending on how you're raised, you could be a grinder. You could be a guy that you want the smoke. That's what you're used to. You grew up like that, and people will call you more mentally tough. It's the age old. You can have all the skill in the world, but if your mind is weak, you'll get bullied. You know what I mean? And I mean, not to call it another sport, but just watch the NBA playoffs. If you watch certain players, you see how their mental struggle works, and you watch somebody like, the example I would use, somebody like a Giannis who. He doesn't know how not to play physical. He doesn't understand that concept to be soft. You know what I mean? And it's probably because of the way he grew up. You know what I mean? So that's a rarity, man. That's a rarity. You know what I mean? You have certain tennis players who quit tennis because mentally they can't take the pressure of answering interviews. Think about it like that. So that's what I mean. Like all that stuff encompasses everything that you're doing. And mental illness is real. I never bash anybody for mental illness, and you never know what Tuitt is going through. Like he said with his brother, everybody's gonna take that differently, man. He could wake up and say, "Is it worth it? Is it worth going out here and doing it? Does he love it like that?" And it's tough. I hope for the best for him. I just kind of wish for the best for him just as a human being. But if he comes back, great. If he doesn't, I think we'll be okay.
We'll be fine. And like Debbie said, he has not been reliable. Like, she's speaking from a football standpoint. And that's the thing. Even with all of us wanting him to come back, I mean, is it really going to hurt that much if he doesn't? I mean, yes and no. The Steelers will just have to find a way to get past it. It is what it is. Steelers cards. That's unfortunate that you feel like that, man. Listen. And again, we're not going down this route tonight, but I just saw your comment. And shout out to you, by the way. But, he says a normal American can't just blow off a year of work. NFL players are privileged who make millions. Don't feel too bad for them. See, I'm just going to say this real quick. I ain't never on that type of time. Never. That's what they do. That's the career path they chose. That's why they making that money.
Yep.
It's just that simple. I don't do the whole privilege thing and all. Listen, me and Kenyon was just talking off air. You know, I was in an industry where I was around a lot of famous people, and I realized they just like me. The only difference is they do it on TV, and you know them. Maybe you didn't know me so much. They're just people. Some people are, quote unquote, privileged enough to make it to the big dance or become the mega star, the big time rapper, or whatever you want to call, whatever the genre. But I don't do that moral thing like that. Like, oh, they're in a $1 billion industry.
Yep.
It's just that simple. They're in a $1 billion industry. I can't be mad at them because they make millions of dollars. They still people. At the end of the day, they're still people with real problems.
They're making the money that the market set. That's it. You can't argue it. You can't say a regular. No, they're making the money that the market has set for them to make. That's it. And they're fortunate enough to do it. That's it. But they're the same as Sim. They're the same as me. They do the 1 and the 2 when they go to the bathroom. They do everything we do. You know what I'm saying? They're just in a situation where they can make a lot of money. You always respect what people do in certain situations. Now, people that have regular jobs or what you would consider regular jobs blow up their jobs and say, I don't want to do this anymore. I mean, you're seeing that a lot now. That's what you're seeing. So it's happening in all facts of life. So if a basketball player or a football player makes a certain amount of money and you say you don't feel sorry for him, I'm pretty sure he's not thinking about that because he's thinking about, he may not even be thinking about checks. So he might be thinking about something else. And if you have something that's going on with you inside, no money in the world is going to make you feel better. No obligation is going to make you feel better. If you're feeling depressed, you're feeling depressed. That's it. There's nothing nobody can tell you. Everybody's going to react to it different. So you have to treat each situation as an individual situation.
Yeah, man.
That's
what's different about Tuitt. And then we'll get off this. We'll move on. That's the difference is that, we're talking about a death involved, and again, people can say what they want about, oh, you should be, man, I ain't trying to hear that. Y'all know my situation with my mom passing away, unfortunately. I ain't over it. It hurts today the same way it did the day it happened. So, we acting like Stephon Tuitt is sorry to have to do this to you, Le'Veon. But we acting like he Le'Veon, but he's just choosing not to play. It ain't one of those. It's a tragic thing that happened. And one of you guys said in the comments, I didn't even know this. Y'all said his mom was in the car with the brother.
Oh,
wow. So
that's double.
See what I'm saying? So it just could be a lot going on, man. So I'm not gonna. All right, we'll get off of this. I'll hate to serious us out, but opinions are opinions. I'm just saying, don't look at it like that, man. Don't look at it like that. Shout outs to Kev So Fun, man. Round of applause for the donation. He says, Sim, you saw the reports that Ben and the Steelers had a fallout. Ooh, I did see that. My question is it true? Will we ever know if it's true?
Right.
And, man, this is another quick topic to stumble on, and then we'll get to the draft picks and get out of here. The question is, Kenyon, if it is true, what is the fallout over? Reason why I say that is let's assume it's because of the way things ended. Because I think I saw a report saying that it was similar to how they kind of pushed Polamalu to retire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, Ben, I mean, I don't know. I didn't get the sense of that at all, just based off of his play and how his body was breaking down, and I didn't get the sense of that at all. We will never know. Was Tomlin purposely saying mobile quarterback. Who knows? I mean, you can find the conspiracy both ways, but I don't think this is a situation where we feel like they forced him out and he had a lot left in the tank. Honestly, to me, it looked like on this whole journey of the last season, Ben was making it clear to us that he was retiring. The way he sat with Pouncey after that game they lost to Cleveland in the playoffs, kind of knowing, man, he knew then Pouncey's retiring. They always say they would retire together. I think Ben knew he took the pay cut. Nobody forced him to do that. He could have very well been like, nah, I ain't doing that. So I don't know if I believe it, but if it happened, it happened. And then, if we get confirmation, then we'll talk about it. I would just want to know the details. I would want to know the details of why they fell out, and then we can talk about it.
Hold it. Look, man. If there's a Ben Steelers fallout, it's because of the moves the Steelers made the year and a half before Ben retired. So if you really want to have that bridge of discussion, we can go back to the root. The root is you hire Matt Canada, you get rid of the old offense coordinator, your best friend. You bring in a new coordinator. They bring in that coordinator to run the new offense that you're not paid for. And then actually, if you want to have a longer conversation, he acquiesced the offense to tailor to you, to not be able to run his full offense. He essentially let you do what you wanted to do. Offense suffered. Your physical traits dwindling. They have been dwindling the years before that. Yep. So if he's upset, if he's pissed off, he should be pissed off that, I lost my best friend, one of my best friends on the team. Pouncey retires. The Steelers were setting themselves up for the future so they wouldn't have to be in a situation where they have to struggle to try to find another quarterback and struggle to find an offense that fits. So that's what they did. If Ben is upset, great, whatever. Troy's situation is different than Ben's. It's totally different. Because Ben, they still gave Ben grace by letting him be the quarterback, by letting him start. Because they could have said, we can get rid of you now and look for a quarterback 2 years ago, if you want to have that discussion, and trade it up and do whatever you want to do. But they didn't do that. So they gave Ben his grace. If he has a beef with them, whatever, it's business. And if you look at, the writing was on the wall when you couldn't throw a 50-yard bomb. The writing was on the wall when you couldn't make those throws that you used to make. And as your talent dwindles, those interceptions and those bad decisions, they magnify. It's just the way it works with any great quarterback. So, look, it is what it is. If he's upset, he won't be upset when he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame. I bet you that. I bet you he'll be fine. He won't be upset when he comes back to Three Rivers and they honor him. He didn't look like he was upset when he on that last game when he was walking around the stadium and slapping everybody's hand at the Heinz Field. Yep. So you can take any story you want to take, but I'll look at the other stuff. He did allude to it when he said, I don't think they won't be back. No, you knew they didn't want you back a year and a half ago. You knew that then, and they signed you to a one-year deal. So that's it. That's all I got to say about the Ben thing. But I'm just saying, take it with a grain of salt.
Very interesting, man. And we'll see. If it comes out to be true, we'll talk about it. Wow, man. The comments are always interesting. I love seeing people's perspective. Because now, and shout outs to Big Felipe Braz, or Brazi. He says, so they won't forgive AB, but they forgive Ben for touching two women in the wrong manner.
Oh, my God.
See, now we getting into stuff that is like, listen, again, just like that, we'll never know the real logistics, what happened. I do believe sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. I don't know to what degree. He wasn't charged with anything.
He wasn't convicted.
He wasn't convicted, man. So, I'm not saying he didn't do. Listen, for the record, I have said this for years. If Ben Roethlisberger did that, you wrong for that, bro. I don't care if you was our quarterback, and you should not have done any of that. But I don't know. I don't know the facts. And him and AB's situation is totally different. AB literally quit on the team.
Yes.
Those are two total, So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong. I'm just saying as a front office, even if Ben was wrong and they covered that up, that's their business, not ours as a fan. But the AB situation is totally different. You could clearly see why they might not want to rock with AB versus, whatever happened with Ben Roethlisberger. But again, I don't want to go down that road, man, because it's pointless to talk about all of that. But
it's you can't like, everybody makes mistakes. They're human. Ben made mistakes when he was a young player. He made a lot of mistakes, and I agree. I believe some of the mistakes he made cost him 2 or 3 years in the NFL as far as being a greater quarterback because of the injury, motorcycle accident, the whatever. But Ben, he essentially changed his life around. He got married. It's called what do you do when you fall? He fell. He was embarrassed. He changed his whole thing around. He didn't disrupt the Steelers in any way, in a sense, essentially, like AB did. AB was riding the Steelers from the inside. He was being insubordinate while on the team, disrespecting his coach, who, if we look back on now, basically protected him. If you want to have that discussion, that's what he did. He protected him. So, and you can't use Kobe Bryant as an example. Kobe Bryant made a mistake. Everybody knows what Kobe Bryant did. You know what I mean? Everybody knows. But he was still married. They still had they still were together. So, and it's not what he bought him. If you buy somebody a ring or you do whatever, they stayed together. She stayed with him. He stayed with her, and that's it. Man. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to be a judge. Everybody wants to judge people now. Like they're like, and I hate to say this, like they're God or something. And the funny thing is, you're not. So when you judge somebody else, look at yourself, because you're not living perfect. Let's have that real conversation. You're not living perfect, because if you were, then you wouldn't be talking about somebody else. So that's how I look at it. If people gonna mess up, it is what it is.
That's really the truth of it.
Right. There's a point that it messes. Yeah, Sam, there's a point where it messes up, where it factors in and it bleeds into the team. And AB was messing the team up by doing stuff he was doing. Ben wasn't doing that. Ben's stuff was off-season stuff. You know what I mean? And Le'Veon Bell was doing stuff, and they still wanted back. Le'Veon chose not to come back and not to play. So that's when you have to make that decision. So don't use other people and try to hold them to this godlike standard, because they're not. They're human. They're going to make mistakes. That's the point. You're supposed to. I'm not gonna say it. You're supposed to mess up. I was gonna use another word, but you're not supposed to say that. But you're gonna do it. It's reality. So unless you're living perfect, and we're not perfect beings, then I would just say, it's just a waste of time.
It is, and I honestly, I apologize to everybody watching. I took the bait. I don't even know why I went down that road. Like people always judging, like you sitting here trying to justify for these two men that you don't even know, like comparing it. Like why do we care? Like, again, I'm just one of them people, man. I'm real to the core. I don't care what other people do. I ain't got nothing to do with that unless it affects me and mine.
Right.
It ain't my business. Man. I know we in the social media era and everybody can see everything, but I don't really be caring that much. It's water cooler talk, but after that, I'm like, doesn't affect my life. But let's get back to it, man. All right, let's talk about these draft picks, guys, and I'm gonna keep mine relatively short and sweet because I told y'all I'm not gonna fake it. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I have not had a chance to watch everybody, so I'm gonna just give you my quick rundown on how I feel still today about the draft. And maybe it won't be so quick because I'm going to finish with my thoughts on Kenny Pickett. So, draft picks number 7, and number 6. So, Chris Doken. Don't know much about him. I just saw that he's mobile. I saw him basically run some of the same stuff that you expect Matt Canada is going to implement. Read option, inside read, zone reads and stuff like that. He's mobile. That means trouble for Mason Rudolph, in my opinion. I mean, Steelers do still have their hierarchy, and again, they've stuck with Mason Rudolph for a long time. Usually, I would say the because he was a 3rd-round draft pick. They don't want to quit on him. But what has changed since I last said that? They brought in a guy named Mitch Trubisky. What also has changed? Oh, they drafted a guy named Kenny Pickett in the 1st round. So the loyalty of holding on and trying to save their 3rd-round draft pick from some years ago, that's out the window now, especially since he's on the extended year of his 4-year contract. Mason Rudolph, you might be in trouble if the Steelers, in fact, really want mobile guys. They might end up having 3 mobile guys. Shout outs to the donations, guys. I will read those here in just a moment. I just want to get through this really quick. So I said I wasn't going to be on the show too long tonight. I don't have any beef with that, man, other than the fact that obviously they wanted to grab him in the draft and not have to compete as a UDFA. So I think there's some merit to that. So keep a close eye on him and Mason Rudolph. Mark Robinson, I only watched 1 game on him, but I know he's a project. I watched the full game and I watched just some highlights as far as his good, his bad. He's a project. And the reason why I say that, he's a former running back. What I did like from him was I like his demeanor. I like the fact that he attacks and he kind of knows where the play is going in a sense because he played running back. So I think he's just using his instincts of how he used to play. But, I mean, it's not fair to rate him on 1 game, but clearly he's a project. So I didn't really watch him enough to say he's going to be a guy that's going to take Devin Bush's spot or take Miles Jack's spot. So I didn't watch him tentatively because even Terrell Austin said himself that, this is a guy we think we can develop. If they can, great. What is interesting, though, what does it say about Buddy Johnson or UG3? So
I'll probably say UG3 more.
Yeah.
Because, but I mean, that's the thing about projects. You can always put them on a practice squad. You can always, sit them and let them develop. And I think that was the plan with him. I agree with you from what I saw from Robinson. He's athletic, but you have to work with him. He hasn't played the position for a long period of time. But Steelers kind of like that. And I think if you can, get a diamond in the rough, that's always good. I don't know what this really means for UG3. UG3, I would agree with you, as well as Mason. They've been there long enough that this might be where you have to show. And with the new linebackers coach, he may not like, he may have a different take on you. So I agree Mason could be in trouble. I would say Mason has a better shot than maybe like a UG3. But I think Buddy Johnson, they like what they saw. We won't really know till after this year, but you never know. The inside linebacker room is crowded. They got rid of Scales, so that's one guy. And so I guess we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be a very interesting camp at linebacker and at quarterback. So I saw enough of Mark Robinson to know that. So that's how I feel about that.
Big Felipe said he is going to make the team. So we'll see, Felipe, if you're correct. I mean, he definitely looks like, just off of, first glance, he looks like a special team guy. But that room is crowded, man. So we'll see. Listen, I love the competition. So we shall see.
Yep.
Connor Haywood. Some of y'all might be mad at this. I like him as a football player.
Good.
But I'm going to be honest. I don't know why you spent a 6th-round pick right there for him. It's all going to come down to how they use him. Some of y'all are going to say, why do you say that? Well, if they're going to use him the way he was used in Michigan State in his latter years, like H-back and all that kind of stuff, cool. I'm cool with that. That's another weapon. But the song and dance of them saying, we got him listed as a tight end, stop playing. Don't come on, man. He's not. Look at Freiermuth and look at Zach Gentry. Just look at their stature and what we ask our tight ends to do. He ain't playing tight end. Not in line. Not saying he can't, but why would you do that? He's not that big of a kid. You know what I mean? So, but I like his ability. So if Matt Canada is saying we're going to use him like that in this spot, that spot, line him in the backfield, throw screens to him and all that, round of applause. I'll take it. But it's TBD until I see how we're going to use him. Because then some people are going to say, oh, well, they're going to say this, Kenyon. Oh, well, he could take Derek Watt's spot. No. Did we not talk about special teams earlier?
Yep. No.
We better not get rid of Derek Watt.
Nope.
So y'all see my point? It's like sometimes, and that's what I love about, over the years starting to quote unquote evaluate the team. It's allowing me to see stuff differently. We all have been through that phase in life when you watch sports and you're like, oh, that guy's good. I want him on my team. Mm-hmm. I don't do that no more. I don't look at just talent. I look at how they're going to fit, how we're going to use them. So this is not anything against Connor Haywood. I'm just waiting to see. It's TBD for me on how we utilize him, whether or not I feel good about drafting him. Now, some people might say, well, it's the same example you gave about the Oladokin kid. Maybe they didn't want to deal with, negotiations and UDFA and all that. But yeah, 6th round, they probably could have got him in the 7th. So those are just my thoughts. I don't hate the pick. I just don't know if I love it if we don't utilize him. And
we'll have all in. So you're not all in.
Not all in yet.
I think Canada specifically targeted that guy.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think he wants to use him. I agree with you. He's not a tight end, but as an H-back, and I think he's a guy that. Another point that you made, which is you took the words out of my mouth, is if they use him like they're using him at Michigan State, that is another weapon. And I agree with you. If you can give him the ball in the flat, get him those little screens and stuff, and let him do that. Yeah. So I don't look at the pick like that. I look at the pick at like it's yet to be determined to see what he would do. I agree with you, TBD. But I'm not down on the pick like that. There are people who project you could have got him undrafted. Well, the Steelers didn't do that. So, it is what it is. They decided they wanted him in the 6th round. I think that's value-wise, 6th round for me is cool. Because you don't know what, that's not like a wasted pick.
That's true.
4th round we can have a discussion. But no, he's all right. And we'll see how they use him. And I'm very intrigued on how he will be used in the Matt Canada offense, because I think Matt Canada has big plans for certain people, and so we're going to see. And so I agree. I'm with you on Connor Haywood. I like the pick a little bit better, maybe than you. I'm not iffy on it. I'm kind of let's just see what happens. I guess I'm cautiously optimistic. That's where I quit. Yeah,
and it's funny because I think me and Kenyon saying the same thing on two different sides. So, because if he turns out to be utilized, then I'm gonna be like, oh man, that was a great pick. But I just hope it's not another one of those. There's plans, and the only reason why I'm gonna say, you know what, Kenya might have just turned me a little bit right there. I was gonna say, look what we did in the past. However, it wasn't Matt Canada.
Right.
So. Man, it's one play in particular. I saw them run a tunnel screen to him at Michigan State.
Which game was that when you were watching? I think that's the game I was watching.
I think that might have been the game
I know that play because they used it. Was like I was like, oh my God, they use that. They use him doing that.
And if we do stuff like that, then I have nothing to say. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah. So again, guys, don't get it twisted. I don't hate him. I'm just saying utilization is going to make me it's gonna determine whether I hate or
Right.
love it. I see the donations, and I promise, guys, I'm gonna definitely shout all of you guys out here in a moment. Just want to get through this last part, and then throw it to Kenyon so we can wrap up the show. Hold on, I'm taking a note of who just sent that comment and donation. But I got y'all, don't worry. Next on the list, I could be really quick with this too. Love the pick of Calvin Austin. Admittedly, didn't know much about him. Seen a couple highlights from him, like I'm talking during the season, but I didn't identify immediately who he was when they drafted. I said, "Oh yeah, is that the fast kid from Memphis?" That's kind of how I was, but I didn't really know everything about him. Watched a little bit of film. He's not just fast. This dude is shifty. This dude is tough. He even said himself in his interview this weekend, he has no fear. He plays like that. And he played primarily on the outside. So obviously there's receiver skills there. He seems to have good footwork, even though I haven't analyzed his route running, but you can clearly see he is going to be a real problem in the slot. You know, and not discrediting him because he's much faster, but think along the lines of a Julian Edelman. Imagine us using him like that with his speed. I think we're going to utilize him. I think he's going to be a upgraded version of the offense over Ray McCloud. And even Ray was starting to make a couple plays here and there when we went to him, but I think Austin has the potential to be featured a little more. Because, man, with this potential receiving core that we have, we could, very well, if it comes together, we could present a real problem for opposing defenses, depending on who you put out there. Pickens, DJ, Claypool, Austin, we could do a lot of mix and match. Sometimes we come out, we got Austin in the slot. What if we line him up at H-back or something like that? It's the opportunities are endless, and this dude can take the top off, man. 4.3 speed in his sleep. Love the pick. Even if he's not the best receiver from what I saw, I love that threat and what he can do. We're gonna run jet sweeps with him and all of that. So I'm just waiting to see how effective he's gonna be. Love that pick. And then Leal. He's gonna have to develop more when the play is not flowing in his direction. He's not as successful. He looks like he's strong. He can bust through the line, but he's not Cam Hayward, who is, right? But what I'm saying is, y'all know Cam Hayward can disrupt the play running to the right, and he on the left side. Because of how Cam Hayward on the D line flows with the line, and he reads blocking techniques and still gets to the play. You rarely see Cam Hayward get washed. You see a lot of that with Leal from the games I watched. He can kind of get washed up a little bit if you're asking him to do a lot of run, fill, and stuff like that. But where I think he's going to do well from what I saw is lined up beside. Here you go. I think you're going to see more of him. Let's say there's no Tuitt. You might see more of him on nickel and pass situations inside with Cam. So it'll be him, Cam, TJ, and Highsmith more than you see Alu.
Because he has something that the other D linemen don't have. The other D linemen, I would argue are your typical 3-4 guys that they can punch during the run. They hold up well and run defense. Leal is what I would call somebody that if you get him in that nickel and you have a offensive lineman lined up in front of him, his pass rush game is going to get him there. He can get there. I agree with you on Leal as far as that goes. I think that he's the pick that his pick was surprising that he fell, but of the games I've watched Leal, and I've seen Leal play since he's a freshman at Texas A&M. So he kind of had a down year this year, but I would argue that I think the Steelers saw enough where they feel like we can turn him into like a pass rusher, put some more weight on him. He could become like a versatile guy. He's very versatile, and I do agree with him. He can get lost in the wash. As far as Calvin Austin goes, look, I just think Calvin Austin is going. I think he's the third best pick we made in this draft. You know, it's the first two picks, I think he's the third best pick. I think both receiver picks were excellent. And I think Austin, I've seen Austin. It's funny, I wrote notes on Austin from 2 years ago. And the first note I wrote, let me say what I said. I said, sudden burst will run away from you. And to me, you can't teach that. So, like, his feet and a lot of his skill set is something that we don't have. Sim said he's an upgraded version of Ray Ray. I think he's the ultimate version of Ray Ray.
Yes, Lord.
I want to look at it like that.
Yeah.
To use a Marvel term, but that's what he is. So I like the Calvin Austin pick. I mean, I know he only weighs 187, but look, I don't know how many dudes gonna be able to catch him. Man. You know, he's not thick. But I just think he can do a lot, and I think Canada's going to utilize him very well in that offense with jet sweeps. But you know, with the other receiver we'll talk about, they can run jet sweeps with him too. But the Leal and Calvin Austin picks, I was cool with those picks. I really love the Calvin Austin pick, and Leal, I agree with Sam. He can be in that nickel and contribute very early. So yeah,
Austin was definitely a steal, man. And he was a steal in this regard. You know, he's smaller. Some people are going to overlook him, but he's a home run hitter.
Yeah.
Deep ball threat. And you couple him with George Pickens. That's why, to me, it might be the steal of the draft. Because, man, y'all got the donations flowing. I got y'all, I promise. But I'm going to get through this, man, so we can kind of wrap up the show. And then I'm going to read all of these comments, man. Oh, man. Let me catch this one, too. When you couple him with the fact that the Steelers were able to also draft Pickens, the Steelers, like, delivered a blow, to me, in my opinion. They delivered a blow in those two picks. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, and I could be being slightly biased, and I don't care. Only thing I don't like about George Pickens is the fact that he didn't play much in 2021.
Yeah, it's called the injury. Yeah.
Other than that, and I'm being funny. I don't really have no. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I gotta really watch. I'm gonna give him the Kenny Pickett treatment. I'm gonna watch multiple games of George Pickens. So I can.
How many games have you seen? How many games have you seen him?
Like 3.
Okay. You went back to his sophomore year? Okay.
No.
So you saw 3.
I only watched
freshman?
2020. Junior.
Okay. The year you get, okay. All right.
Because what I want to see, I definitely want to see where he needs to improve. Because I'm not going to be one of those biased fans. Oh, he's great. No. I'm sure he has some things he has to work on.
Yep.
I'm not concerned with the quote unquote off the fit. I could have a whole show on that. Exactly. I think a lot of that is, y'all know where I'm going. They always want to say that, man. I ain't got no problems with that. Dude is an animal. He makes me feel better about not having Juju on the roster.
Right.
Y'all know how I feel about Juju as far as what he brings to the table. Man, I think Pickens will be able to do that and more. This dude is a straight dog. Maybe he wakes up Claypool. And if we can get Claypool playing on the potential level that we expect Pickens to play on, boy, I'm telling y'all, not being biased here, not because I have a Steeler hat on, The Steelers might mess around and have a real threat at wide receiver. Just think about that. Deontay Johnson.
Look at the division. Look at the division. Just go by the division and go by every team's wide receiver corps, and then you compare it to the Steelers wide receiver corps. Man, I'm just asking. I'm just putting it out there because since last year, to me, Cincinnati had the best receiving corps. It was you couldn't guard them. They had 3, and they were different receivers. They could all do different things. And so, what do the Steelers have now? You have Deontay, Claypool, Pickens, and Deontay, and what Adam? You have those 4. Austin, you have those 4. So you have every conceivable type of receiver that you need in that offense to get mismatches. And I agree with Sim. Look, I told Sim knows this. Me and Sim I've known him for years now. So I told Sim maybe 3 years ago I had Pickens the number 1 receiver in the 20. I said this to him a long time ago.
Yep.
Before he got hurt. And you guys know in the chat how much I talk about certain receivers. I had him number 1. Now, during that time period, he got hurt, but his traits were still the same. He's young. His traits were still the same. He was still a monster. He was still a beast. But there were other receivers that caught him, i.e., Drake London caught him. He kind of caught him, you know what I'm saying? But those 2 guys to me, those 2 to me were the guys I thought were like legit monsters on the field. The other guys to me were more skill set guys, you know what I mean? Just, in the draft. But if Pickens is healthy and he looks healthy, if you saw certain things and he looks healthy, forget the can you get Claypool to play better? Claypool better play better, or you're going to see Pickens as the number 2 ascending to number 1.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you right now, Steelers may say, I'm going to give you guys a hard fact of what's going on in the NFL right now with receivers. These receivers, they're not getting new contracts. You know how the NFL looks at them now? Give me 4 years. Give me 4 years, and I'll get another. We'll draft another receiver. If Tennessee would trade AJ, and AJ is better than DJ, no disrespect, he's better than DJ. If they would trade him, you don't think the Steelers will say let DJ walk?
Daggone right. Especially when saying. Pickens is a natural X anyway.
I'm just saying.
So, hey man, I'm loving. Oh yeah, and I forgot Boykins. We might mess around and get something out of Boykins. Way down the depth chart. So, oh man, I love it. So all right, man. We both feel the same about Pickens. Let me get to my last pick. Kenny Pickett. Pickett to Pickens for 6. That sounds good. I'm going to read this really quick, and I'm just going to give you my thoughts on why the Steelers drafted him, right? Not going to focus so much on whether you hate him, love him, I hate him, love him. Here are my quick notes. I read some of this, I think the show after the draft, the following Tuesday, I believe. Or it might have been before the draft. I don't remember. But I added a couple things to it. So really quick, and I literally wrote that. Kenny Pickett, quick thoughts after watching 8 full games. I watched all 2021. Reason why I did that, just to give you guys some context, it is good that you should go back and watch previous years, especially with a guy like George Pickens, obviously.
Yep.
But with Kenny Pickett, because he could very well end up being the quarterback for us really early, I want to see what he did most recently. Because honestly, we all know he wasn't the greatest quarterback in the previous years. Decent, but not the year he had here lately. So I said, all right, I'm going to only stay in 2021. Here we go. He can throw the ball deep, but his arm doesn't seem the strongest. What I mean by that, I saw Kenny Pickett throw balls plus 40 yards. That's pretty deep in the NFL. I mean, we're just talking about air yards. It's not like dudes is throwing. Pat Mahomes don't have to throw 60-yard bombs all the time. Even Ben didn't have to do that all the time. He could get it there, but it is something about it that just doesn't look as strong as others. Like it doesn't appear that he has a cannon. Can get the ball there, but it kind of lofts his way there, if you will.
More air, that you saying?
Yeah, and I did see times where he led guys. I mean, it was games I was showing clips back and forth to Kenyon. He led them, hit them in stride. But, you know, some of those dudes with the strong arm, you just see the ball just... He don't have that flick of the wrist.
Well, to be fair, Ben, in his prime years, Ben had a gun, but it wasn't like he had the strongest arm in the NFL. I mean, you're talking about Josh Allen. Like, Josh Allen's deep ball is legit. He has more arm power than anybody. Mahomes, anybody you want to talk about, he has more arm power than all of them. Josh Allen, you're talking about Carson Palmer. Like when he was with Cincinnati, when he could throw 70 yards deep, standing, you know what I mean? He could make those throws easily. But that's a rarity, man. That's a gift. And I think Kenny has I would agree with him. Kenny has that. But yeah, go on. I mean, that's you watch that again. I've seen him play since he was a freshman, but you had the most recent stuff on it. So
and it's not a bad thing. So I want people to understand the reason why I'm saying that is because the narrative was he can't throw deep. And I'm like, well, I actually saw him throw 40 plus yards a good amount of times. I actually seen one where I felt like it was a 50-yarder. Some people didn't consider that, but the way I measured, I said, no, that's a 50-yard throw. But anyway, he can run the read option.
Yeah.
He can run design quarterback runs. He had 40 touchdowns versus 7 interceptions. Pretty good ratio. I saw him run a pump fake, and in parentheses, I wrote laugh out loud because we know the mini hand syndrome. It's not going to be Big Ben. We all know that. Who was? But, yeah, I even saw him confident enough to do a little pump fake in a couple games with his small hands. He does have a tendency to drift in the pocket a bit, though. Again, me and Kenyon and Tony talk all the time. I remember sending Kenyon a picture saying, why did he go this way? Right. There's times where, let me tell you what he does. Sometimes he drifts back too far. He knows he can escape, but he favors that right side. It seems like he knows that I can make plays, sort of like what they say about Josh Allen. Don't let him scramble to his right because he'll kill you. It's almost like Kenny Pickett has that program in his mind. He can make plays with his legs on the run on his right side. Because I saw quite a few times, if he would have went left, if he would have stepped in the pocket and went left, it's a 15-yard scramble. Instead, he will drift back further to get outside to the right. Sometimes he still made the play, but it's unnecessary. So I do feel like what they're going to have to fix with him is getting him to read that pocket. Step up in that pocket at times and read it. Because the photo I sent to Kenyon, he's looking in that direction. Like, just run. Why you run to the right? And if you guys watch him, you'll know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it might just be a confident thing. Man, I got to get to my right side. But where a quarterback coach is going to come into play, where Matt Canada is going to come into play, look, we need you to read this action a little more. It's going to be a little faster in the NFL. You might not always be able to get out there. So read that entire pocket if you're going to take off. Throws a lot of 50-50 balls. He threw a lot of back shoulders.
Yeah.
And might be a good thing if we get single coverage and we got guys like Pickens and Claypool. I ain't mad at that. His accuracy is pretty good, man, but, there's a little room for improvement. There's a couple times where the ball was a little bit behind, but for the most part, I think, in my opinion, in those 8 games alone, Kenny Pickett was pretty accurate. Mm-hmm. I saw knocks on his accuracy, too, and I'm like, maybe I'm looking at different games, but this dude is not wildly inaccurate, in my opinion. I think he does a good job with looking off safeties. I got real nerdy on some of the games, guys, and I would slow it down and watch. He does a good job with looking guys off, coming back to the right. And some people will say, oh, well, that's all quarterbacks should be able to do that, but they all don't. We all know that. They all don't. And Kenny Pickett does that routinely.
Right.
He can sell it. Like, exactly. So that's a great trait to have. I wrote this note twice. I said he does seem to bail to the right a lot. So I already told you guys that. I'm gonna have to agree with quite a few people on this. Debbie mentioned this. I heard Alex Kazor say this. The way he carries that ball sometimes when he's running is a concern, though. He's gonna have to. He might have to tuck it a little more initially. He kind of carries it a little loose, and if we want to make a play on his hands, you don't want to give him any extra ammunition, man. So you might have to tuck that ball in a little tighter when you choose to scramble.
I got a note on that. I'll wait till you finish though.
But yeah, let me finish up. Bottom line, listen, me personally, I think Kenny Pickett is a solid quarterback. He's not trash, as some people are saying. He's not the greatest, as some people are making him out to be. But I think he's good. And I think he's going to be very good in Matt Canada's offense. I think he can run that offense very well. And here's the reason why I think the Steelers picked him. Not only because of all of that. I think the writing is on the wall. Steelers are not planning on rebuilding. They want to just pick up where they left off. That's my gut. They don't want to wait to rebuild. I think Kenny Pickett has a very, very strong chance of being the starter this year. Does he start week 1? We'll see. Might be Trubisky, but I think the Steelers are looking at this. We got weapons. We're not going to wait. We don't have time to wait and rebuild when we're looking at our division. We look in the AFC. Let's go get the best quarterback who's ready to play now. And if we're being fair, y'all saw my reaction on draft night. You saw King. You saw Debbie. You saw Destiny.
I didn't have a reaction. You had a reaction.
Hey, I admit it. Again, potential-wise, I wanted Willis because I was just thinking about, man, what if he could put it all together? But if I'm being completely honest, and there's nothing wrong, guys, with changing your mind or being wrong. Some of y'all should exercise that.
Right.
I'm not an expert. When I went back and watched all of those games, I was like, you know what, man? Kenny Pickett is probably the only quarterback in that class that if he has to play this year, he's ready to do it. And if I couple that with, I think the Steelers are not trying to sit and wait. That's why they drafted him. Only time will tell if this is a good draft pick or not. But I see a lot of people, not a lot, some people are campaigning for him, but I see a lot of people trashing it, man. This guy's he's not trash. I don't know. I'm confused with what some people are saying about him. If you don't like him, cool. If you think we should have waited until next year, can't argue with that. But Kenny Pickett is a good quarterback, at least from what we saw. And I think with the weapons that they put around him and the one that's going to be directly behind him, I think Kenny Pickett could very well come into this offense that we assume Matt Canada's going to run and be successful. And if our defense plays well. So I'm going to accept that, man. I don't think it's a bad pick at all. I just think the Steelers felt like, let's shoot our shot this year instead of waiting until next season. And there you go. Those are my thoughts.
I agree with everything Sim said. I would just say this. I told Sim, what did I tell you when they got Pickett? What did I text you? What did I say? I said, that dude's not sitting. They're not going to sit that guy. Yeah, he's probably going to start. And I do also agree. It's funny because Sim used to always say, was warning people for like the last 2 years. Hey man, you guys might better get used to it. We're gonna rebuild. It's gonna take us a while. And I was saying to myself, I don't think they're thinking like that.
Yeah,
I think they're thinking.
I
think they're thinking we need to make a move, and we have these weapons. We put all these weapons around Kenny Pickett, and it's really similar to Joe Burrow, because if you really think about it, Joe Burrow only really had one good year in college. He had one good year. He had a gang of weapons, a great team. He showed out, got picked by the Cincinnati Bengals, and he took him to the Super Bowl. if you have a quarterback that is serviceable or good, and you put weapons around them, you can be effective. The Steelers are getting back to running the ball and making their defense stout. And if they're doing that, they'll be okay. And my thoughts on Kenny Pickett are the same as Sim, except I will say his IQ to process information is better than any of the quarterbacks that are in this draft. Mm-hmm. So he will be okay to walk in and be able to fit in a Matt Canada offense. And, this is really technically Matt Canada's first year where it's just his offense. It's him. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to argue with, or not argue, or just have a disagreement or cater the offense to a Big Ben or something like that. Now he finally has his draft where he probably was in the room like, yo, give me this guy. Give me that guy. You know what I mean? He finally had that type of voice. So we're going to see now. He will be judged appropriately now. But look, I like Kenny Pickett. We don't know how good he's going to be. We don't know what his ceiling's going to be. But I like his traits. I think he can run better than people think. I think he's accurate with his passes. I do agree with Sim that he rolls to the right. That is a trait. And the NFL team will see that and take that away from him take that away from him very quickly. So I think the training camp battle will be interesting. I think preseason this year are going to be must-watch games because you want to see if Kenny Pickett is developing. And if he's developing the way you think and he's practicing the way you think, I think Mitch Trubisky is not going to start. I think they're going to start Kenny Pickett. The era of the Steelers sitting people is over. They're not doing it. Mike Tomlin has already told you, if you can play, you're starting. Najee didn't sit. Nobody's sitting anymore. So if Kenny Pickett can run that offense, that Matt Canada offense, he will play. And I'm just excited that we're in a new era. We get to see this come to fruition with all of us. We're all going to see it. We're all going to see it. It's going to be ups and downs. I'm not going in there putting too much expectation on Kenny. I just want him to be, if he's solid, I'm cool first year. If he's solid, I'm cool. Because if you're solid and the rest of your team is good, you'll be okay in the AFC. And especially in our division. So, you see, the Cleveland situation. You don't know about Deshaun Watson. You know if he's going to be there the first 6 games. Cincinnati clearly was the best team in the division last year. And, we'll find out what we're made of week 1. And I have a feeling I expect Kenny Pickett to start week 1. So we're going to see what we're about. But
that's good.
Look, my evaluation of Kenny Pickett, I saw him for a while. I took notes, but I'm glad Sim watched those games because it's so great when he does that because we get to play off each other on that. But everything he said, I don't have to say anything because he basically said everything I wrote in notes for the last 3 years. But he is a one-year wonder. It took him 5 years to become good. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how he is. But I'm excited. You guys should be excited. And, let's go. It's time, man. We got pieces. Let's roll, man. Let's get this going. Steelers forever.
That's right, man. It's going to be enjoyable. And Kenyon said it. And also I'm going to shout out Claude Bishop, who just said the Steelers never rebuild, they reload.
Yep.
And you're right. I was saying it, man. It's going to be a lot of these seasons after Ben that's going to be down. But it don't necessarily have to be that way. And if we believe that philosophy, as Kenyon does, and as Claude just said, that's why they drafted Kenny Pickett. Like, we don't have to agree. So I'm not telling people that y'all must like him. They should have waited till next. I'm just letting you know, if what we're saying here is true, that is the reason why they drafted him. He's the most ready to play, and he can play. That's the narrative that I'm seeing is people are now saying this dude is trash. I'm like, trash? How? And here's another thing that we're forgetting. He's more of the prototypical body stature that the Steelers like that can move.
Yeah.
Like Kenny Pickett can actually, and we saw this too, Kenyon. He's not mobile. Huh? He's not Malik Willis.
Right. But who is?
He don't have to be that.
Right.
And again, this is coming from a guy. Y'all go watch the draft show. Fast forward to when we drafted him and watch my reaction. Yep. I'm standing in that right now saying, man, I never thought if both of those guys were available, they would have went with Kenny Pickett. But I trust the team, man. So it forced me. I don't never watch that much footage on no one guy.
So don't.
Dog, 8 games.
He sure do.
Full games. I don't be watching that many games on nobody, but I was like, I gotta go see it for myself. And I just gotta trust and believe. And like Kenya said, man, this is gonna be a real fun time for us Steelers fans, man. There might be some down seasons, maybe not, but we're actually watching a new era. Literally watching a new era.
Yep.
And I'm here to root for it, man. Win, lose, or draw, Steelers forever. I hope Kenny Pickett proves everybody wrong as far as the naysayers. It proves everyone right for those who say he's going to be the dude. So that's it. Let's knock out these donations really quick, man, and then I'll get out of here, man. Round of applause to everyone who donated. I'm going to read your name, read your comment. So, round of applause. Thank you, by the way, Felipe. I see that you just became a channel member, so I appreciate that. Still working on trying to get some real content to present to you guys, man, exclusively. I know during the season it was all 22, but I got some ideas, so stay on the lookout for that. But as far as the donations, Steeler Lee said, trade Mason before the start of week 1, question mark. It's possible, but what Kenya just said a few minutes ago, let's see how training camp plays out. You know, if it looks like the other kid is getting more playing time in one of them preseason games than Rudolph, then yeah, maybe you get to trade him. The contract is cheap. There might be a team that, you know, could use a second or third string quarterback. Q says he feels bad for Tariq Cohen. He says, man, he comes back from an ACL and just to tear his Achilles. Wow, I didn't know that. Did he tear it recently? Like over the weekend or something? That sucks. Really does suck. Hate to see players get hurt, man, especially stuff like that. Yep. Sean Manahan says Connor tailback, Derek Watt fullback, backup role. Man, that would be interesting. That would be an interesting goal line package. But again, if we're being honest, you're not taking Najee off the field.
Nope.
In that situation. How about this? Najee as the tailback, Connor as a fullback, and hand him the ball. Like, then it's a little more of a threat because they know Derek Watt not. Right. Most people know he's not going to run. He can, which actually could be the trickery, but I think it's more of a threat in a jumbo set. If I'm a D coordinator and I see Connor Hayward, who I know can do some stuff, he's lined up at fullback, and Najee is the running back, then I'm kind of like, all right, what they doing? So that could be an interesting look.
And Connor's a matchup guy, so you can have Connor go out and have a linebacker trying to cover him, and then that's a mismatch. So Derek Watt, he's good at it. He's cool at it, but he's not. Connor that's what he does. So I think that's the thing that separates those guys. And I think Connor can block well enough that you can, especially in those goal line situations. I think you're gonna see a little flex and a little trickery, a little stuff going on because they want to. I think they'll do power runs, but they'll do some stuff where you have Connor in there, and they might line him up as a tight end on the end, making you think he's gonna block, and then the dude's line saying, "Well, he can't block." You know what I mean? So you don't know how they're gonna use Connor. I'm excited to see what they do with it. And that's basically.
And what you said is key as far as the matchup. Imagine us in a jumbo set, get the defense in a heavy, and then you run play action with him leaking out. That's a matchup nightmare. So we might have just stumbled up on a formation there. Him at fullback, Najee. Yeah, let's see what they do with him, man. C. Antoine Hill says, Sim, did you get the video I sent you about Calvin's 40? I did. I don't know if you all have seen it, but supposedly the clock, I think, when they timed him, started late or something like that. And people who have broken down the video are actually saying he may have actually ran like a 4.12 or something like that. That's crazy. But if you go look at the video, it does show like the clock was a little bit behind. So when he crossed the line, technically he would have ran like a 4.12 in the 40. But
yeah, I think he's probably like the fourth fastest receiver in the draft, I would say.
Yeah, that dude was flying. So I could believe that.
Yeah, because the Alabama kid, those Alabama receivers, Jameson is a 4.2 legit. He's legit for, that's just, he's that fast. And then the other one that got hurt is 4.2. You know what I mean? Both of those guys are fast. And then the kid out of Baylor who surprised everyone, remember he ran the 4.2-1 at the combine? That's why New England drafted him. I mean, that's why he got drafted higher, because of that combine. He ran a 4.2. That's ridiculous. And he's 6'4", 6'4", 6'5". So that's yeah. I think Calvin's in that range though.
That's some Usain Bolt stuff. Like, nobody's supposed to be that tall that can run that fast. Like, it's not supposed to happen, dude. That just don't happen.
But that's Randy Moss.
Yeah,
that was Randy. Randy was that fast.
Crazy. So let's see who else we got. Jay Hall. Connor Haywood would be Matt Canada's Swiss Army knife. Dude can do damage in that offense. I've seen him line up at tight end, fullback, running back, and even wide receiver. Yeah, I've seen him split out in the slot. So, like I said, I'm not down on the pick. I'm going to be upset about it if they don't utilize him. That's my only thing. Because we've seen the Steelers do that in the past, but again, I had to correct my own self during the show and say, well, wait. We haven't seen this with a Matt Canada offense. We've seen this with previous guys. So as long as they utilize them, I'm cool with that pick. Yeah. See, Antoine Hill came back again and says, said the same thing about Calvin. So thanks for the double donation. King Go Crazy says, Canada has a lot of weapons to play with this season. No excuses. Make or break year for him. I don't believe I can disagree with that at all. You have your mobile quarterback.
Yep.
You have a guy that can run all of the trickery. He can run read action. He can do design quarterback runs. He's an accurate passer. You have a stud running back, and your wide receivers are plentiful. No excuses. I'm with you.
Let me ask you this question, Sal. Mm-hmm. With the, if you really think about how we were hoping, because we kind of wanted them to get Malik, and he kind of failed. The draft went our way, technically that way, where he could have failed to us. You really think the Steelers looked at Baltimore and said, yeah, we don't want another Lamar Jackson. We want a guy that can run, but we want a guy that can process and make those throws. He's a dual threat, but he's a sneaky dual threat. And do you think they watched that and watched Joe Burrow, how much success he had? Because he runs RPO too. And Joe Burrow can't really run like that. So,
it's possible.
So do you think they looked at that and said, you know what? Maybe we should roll like that. Because if Malik had Kenny Pickett's other traits, there'd be no discussion of who you draft.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If he had those traits.
Yeah, so I think you're right.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
It's possible, guys. I think Kenya makes a good point, and then you couple that with we want to play now. And maybe we don't want to wait to build up Malik Willis to that. And then I know the discussion, people are going to say, well, is there a huge gap between Mitch and Kenny?
Right.
In theory, maybe not as far as skill set, but I think Kenny Pickett might be the better talent right now. Yeah. Mitch Trubisky had some good years in Chicago. Had a down couple years. But I think today Kenny Pickett might be the more talented, even though their gameplay style is similar. But we shall see. Sean Manahan says, Steelers don't tank. That's why we drafted Kenny. Yeah, I think it's more along those lines. And the last one, Kev So Fun says, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels. Yeah, rest in peace to Kevin Samuels, man. And what I'm going to say about that really quick, again, some of you people out there in social media is disgusting, man. The man passes away and they out there, good. He was a no good. Y'all don't know this dude, man. I don't get that logic. I just don't. And call me crazy, weird, or whatever. I just don't understand that. Even if you didn't like what he said, you wishing death on. I don't play them type of games, number one. Number two, have y'all ever heard of a YouTube personality?
Right.
You think he didn't do those things he did for shock value? Especially when he became popular? And here's the funny thing. He had a set of ladies who would call in for that. And he would put on a show. So how could I judge him? Don't believe nothing you see on the internet. That's all I'm going to tell you. Maybe you can you can believe me, because this is me. Ask Leonard. Ask father-in-law Leonard in here. This what y'all see is what you get. But for the most part,
you can believe me.
Yeah, man. But for the most part, y'all got to cut that out. You see a YouTube personality or guys in the media, like, dog, you don't know him personally. You can kind of say, I dislike the message, and that's cool. But not to the point where you saying, oh, good, glad he's dead. That's crazy, man.
Well, the bad part is that if the people that commented and were so vicious to him, I always make this comment. If some of it wasn't true, you wouldn't comment.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say. If some of the stuff he was saying was not true, you wouldn't be upset. It wouldn't bother you because it wouldn't affect you. As Sim said earlier, it would not affect you, your belief system. So whatever he said that pissed certain people off, whether it be ladies, even some guys, hey man, look, if it doesn't affect you, it shouldn't bother you. If you fall into the categories of what he's talking about and you're upset, he was correct. People don't like the truth, man. We're in the era where people don't like the truth.
Yeah.
Think about it like that.
But yeah, man, I just can't, I can't celebrate death, man. That's just, that's final, folks.
Yep.
I always tell this quick story. Not even a story, it's a couple sentences. I was telling my wife this when we discussed that situation. I remember a guy, man, that we all grew up in the neighborhood, was friends with. He passed away when he was 17. He was going to be 18 a week later. We all went to his funeral on the first day of school, our senior year, right? Whole school pretty much there. Even his enemies, the guys that he beefed with, they came to pay their respect. They came there to pay their respect, and his boys that they, this crew against this crew, they all squashed everything at the funeral. This is 17, 18-year-olds. And I say all that to say is because, dog, when somebody dies, man, and it's not really no real beef or whatever, but hey, meanwhile, you got people on the internet happy because this dude died and they don't even know the dude.
Hilarious. It's just sad, man. Sad commentary. It's really a sad commentary on society. You know what I mean? It's a societal thing. Sad commentary on society.
It's crazy. But all right, folks, I'm going to get out of here, man. Y'all know this is my commute day, so I'm going to go spend a little bit of time with my little man before he go to bed and just chill out a little bit. But, man, I appreciate y'all coming by the show tonight. I told you, man, these are the best shows when we have somewhat of a script, but not really. We just went off the cuff, and I think it took us into some interesting conversations. So, again, y'all know the routine, man. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button if you liked the video. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Subscribe to the channel if the content is interesting to you. And other than that, make sure you cut on your notifications. And I will be back to you guys for sure on Tuesday. But if any breaking news happens, I'll do a special little pre-recorded video. Maybe we find out who the GM is. I don't know. But outside of that, be safe. God bless. Good night. And we thank you guys for tuning in to Terrible Town Tuesday. Catch y'all next time. Peace.